I began the interview with Governor Ducey with a question about the week's big political story. Will he endorse new U.S. Senate candidate Joe Arpaio, a man the governor claims as a friend and who gave Ducey a crucial endorsement 4 years ago? We then jumped to education and the governor's new plan to refill the so-called Additional Assistance Fund, money schools say they desperately need. This is an edited version of our conversation late last week. Start with politics. Joe Arpaio is running for the U.S. Senate, one of your most important endorsers in 2014 when you ran. You've called him a living legend, a good friend. So will you endorse your good friend in the U.S. Senate primary?
I'm not going to get involved in politics. I'm going to focus on my day job. We've got a lot to do this legislative session.
So we're seeing Joe Arpaio be Joe Arpaio. He's reviving the birther conspiracy theory. He's been on the news nationally. How concerned are you that that kind of discussion about the birther theory will come to portray Arizona the same way Alabama was portrayed during their Senate race in December?
Well, I think people have seen what's happened in Arizona over the last 3 years. Our reputation hosting the Super Bowl, college football national championship, NCAA Final Four, the growth in our economy, the growth in Maricopa County. People see what's happening in the state of Arizona. So I'm going to stay focused on that. That's something that I can have some charge over, and we'll let the politics and the pundits discuss the rest.
But as head of the Republican Party in Arizona, is that the kind of race you want to see in the U.S. Senate?
Well, this is something for the people to decide. Okay, this is a wide open state, and this is going to be a spirited campaign at every level. I'm going to have my hands full as well, so that's where my focus will be.
On to education. Several polls show it is the #1 issue for voters. I know it's the #1 issue among our viewers. So let's talk about this. This is it's called additional assistance.
Yes.
Right? A plan for additional assistance. State Representative Heather Carter, Republican from Cave Creek, gave me a great analogy. School funds go into lots of different baskets. One basket, additional assistance, that pays for school buses, technology, textbooks, had basically been emptied. And you are starting to fill that basket again. Good analogy?
I'll take that analogy. I'll reserve the right with your next question to clarify it.
So here's the question, and you mentioned this a moment ago, I think. You presented this as making up for recession-era cuts, correct?
Well, the state ran out of money, okay, before I came into office. So what I can be held accountable for, Bram, is what's happened the last 3 years.
Okay, so in 2015, you cut the budget, according to budget documents, $113 million from that fund. Is that correct?
I think that's inaccurate, because I think you're distorting the facts that we may have taken dollars from one fund, but we did it so we could fund inflation and we could fund growth. So we could make sure that dollars got to the teachers and the classrooms, and now we're coming and giving dollars and providing flexibility to those dollars so that they can be used both for teacher salaries and for capital.
So again, the budget document says $113 was cut from that fund. Are you saying that didn't happen?
I'm saying in K-12 education, there have not been cuts. Now, there haven't been the increases that I'd like to see, but there have not been cuts over the 3 years that I've been governor.
So where'd that money go?
When you say where'd that money go, that money's going to the teachers, classrooms, inflation, and growth. Yes, in 2015.
I guess I'm puzzled, because that's what the budget shows.
Well, we'll get you the budget figures, but I think you have to look at one fund, which is around capital, and we provided flexibility to that fund, and those dollars went into growth and inflation.
So your proposal would add $100 million this year.
Yes.
To that basket, and then several more installments.
Yes, it would provide $100 million this year in this budget, and over the next 5 years, $371 million in restoration of the cuts that were done at the time of the Great Recession.
So the money still has to be approved by the legislature.
Yes.
In each of those years.
Well, we're going to put forward a budget. This is going to be a commitment to the education community. We worked together on Proposition 123. We were able to bring a broad coalition together. We had a lawsuit that looked like it couldn't be settled. It likely would have resulted in a constitutional crisis. We brought legislative leadership together with the educational establishment and champions. We were able to put that to the voters. That would be the same thing we would want to do here. It would be a commitment over the next 5 years of $371 million. And I think it's important people know that those dollars would be permanent and flexible, so they could be used for capital and they could be used for teacher salaries.
But every legislature over the next 5 years has to approve this money each year. Is that correct?
Well, the
This isn't like Prop 123.
The budget goes to the legislature every year, but this would be a commitment of $100 million this year and a plan for $371 million over the next 5.
But as we often hear, you can't tie the legislature's hands, correct?
Well, if you are the governor, you can sign or veto a budget. This is my commitment going forward. What I can deliver on this year is $100 million with the commitment for full restoration over the 5 years.
So I'm just wondering about future years, since it's not like Prop 123 money. Future years, is it possible you're writing checks now that future legislatures won't cash?
What I have to do is worry about the year that's in front of us, one budget year at a time. That's what we're putting forward. And I also think when a legislature, legislative leadership, and a governor make this kind of commitment and they put the dollars forward to do this, this is something you can have confidence in. But I'm committing to this year with the commitment that we'll follow through. And you don't have to take it from me. Take it from the people that were standing behind me on Tuesday. These are the business officials of the education establishment. These are the superintendents and the educators. They like this solution. They like this idea. They've signed on to it. We've worked together. It's a commitment together to work going forward.
So I talked to several business officers, others at that meeting, at that presentation, trying to better understand what it was all about, because it's kind of confusing. And what I heard from them was, you know what? This is the best offer on the table right now. As they said in their press release, we have immediate needs we have to answer, and we don't have much hope there's going to be more money coming, so we're going to take what's on the table. They don't have much hope. They think this is the best they can get from the governor because the governor's not going to raise revenue. This is it.
What I would say is this is not it, but this is a solution to what's been a years-long lawsuit or a lawsuit that is pending. These things play out tremendously over time. What I'd rather do is have a solution here today. Every year we've brought money to K-12 education. Bram, in the last 3 years, we've brought $1.7 billion additional new state dollars. Per pupil spending's up 10% since 2015, and the dollars available for teachers' raises are up 9%. On Tuesday, we brought $100 million additional dollars with a commitment for full restoration over the next 5 years with no lawsuit necessary. We think it's a good solution, but there's other things we can do for K-12 education. This is what the next 12 months looks like.
I did fact check that 10% number a few weeks ago. You might be aware of it, but that is correct. But most of that money is from Prop 123, which voters approved.
Well, and I say thank you to the voters, and it was a result of a settlement, as I said, from the governor's office, working with legislative leadership and the education community to bring this forward.
And when we